A person could question why we're doing all of this, but when you bought this motorhome and when I bought mine, we were impressed at how nice it was and all of the features. And one of those features is an ice maker. Now you can say, I just buy a bag of ice and throw it in, no big hassle. But that's not what I paid for. So with a little bit of time and not very much money, we can get this thing working. We're back at Phil's motorhome today, his country coach, and he recently confessed that his ice maker doesn't work. Now, one of my earlier videos, I fixed the ice maker in my motorhome, but it was a standalone built-in, the type you'd see in a home under a bar. Now, his is a Norcold unit with an integrated ice maker. So we're going to go through some troubleshooting tips. Now, an ice maker, for it to work, needs three things. It needs cold, it needs water, and it needs electricity. So the first thing we're going to do is make sure it's got those. Now, as far as the cold, the refrigerator is off right now, but Phil assures me that he gets below 10 degrees in his freezer, and you need to be below 15, 16 degrees for an ice maker to work. So the next things we're going to do is go through and check to make sure we've got water and power. So you guys remember Phil here. And Phil, have you ever worked on an ice maker before?
Very little.
Okay, so we're going to use you as an example. I'm going to turn the tables, and rather than me working on it, you're going to troubleshoot your own ice maker today.
Ooh, great.
All right, so the first thing we want to do is we're going to test for water. Okay, so we've disconnected the water inlet. Why don't you point at the solenoid valve back here, that blue piece? Okay, so that's where that water connects, and we've got this line coming up from the bottom of the motorhome somewhere through the water pump. So the first thing we want to do is pop on the pump and make sure we get some water through there. Go. Good, off. We got plenty of water. So that works. He's going to reconnect that connection now. And then why don't you go inside and just turn that pump on so we got a water supply. We'll make sure we're not leaking at the same time. And we got a leak. Yep, keep it on. We'll fix it. Always a good thing to check your connections. We had a leak here, just a little tightening. That's all it takes. All right, that's the end of that leak. All right, let's check to see if we've got power. Now, an ice maker runs on 110 volts, and here in his country coach, he's got this plug that should be supplying power to both his refrigerator and his ice maker. You can really think of the ice maker as a standalone appliance inside of your refrigerator. It doesn't know if the refrigerator's turned on or off or anything else. So why don't you unplug one of those guys and let's check to make sure we got power. When you're dealing with a 110 plug, you've got three pieces here. The top left, the longer the slot, that's the power leg. To the right of it is a common, and to the bottom is a ground. Now, in a home installation, the common and the ground are actually joined together back at your circuit breaker box. So if this is wired correctly, we should be able to test power between the common, or the power leg and the neutral leg, and from the ground. All right, so we're lit up there. Okay, so we've got power. The next thing we're gonna do, the next thing Phil's gonna do. Okay, let's show people this little tool here. This is not OSHA approved. This is an old electrical cord off of some appliance, and I've gone ahead and crimped on 1/4-inch connectors on the end that'll fit over the spades here of this solenoid. So this solenoid up here controls this water valve, and that's what sends water to your ice maker. So the ice maker assembly in the refrigerator sends a signal down here, opens up this valve, and lets water go into your ice maker. This part here is relatively inexpensive, and its failure rate is pretty common. So we're going to check it. What we need to do is we'll connect that up there. All right. Now this is not polar sensitive, so it doesn't matter which way you connect it. And putting your wires back, it doesn't matter which wire is on which terminal. So we're going to click that in there real quick and listen. I didn't hear anything.
It's buzzing. It's on.
Okay, so it buzzes. Now let's see if we're getting water flow through the valve. So let's break this guy loose, and then we'll plug that in real quick into the power cord we're using to power our lights so we can stand back from it. All right, so now what Phil's going to do is plug in this cord that he's got connected to the solenoid valve, and we're going to see if we get any water leakage. Careful, you got power in there. So he's energized that solenoid valve.
We gotta be getting theirs flow.
All right, so you're getting water?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so we've just proven that the solenoid valve is working, and that when it's energized, it opens up and water flows through that valve. One might have hoped that it was the solenoid valve because it's very easy to change and relatively inexpensive. But it's always best to check that, because now we know we've got electricity and we have water flowing to the ice maker when it's called on. So now we're going to move inside after we put this back together. All right, before we pull the ice maker out, let's get the power turned off inside there. All right, so now there's no power to the ice maker. We're inside of Phil's motorhome, and let's see what we've got for his ice maker. So we were pumping water down below playing with that valve, so this tray is probably going to be filled with water. Yes, so we know we've got water flowing up to the ice maker. So let's talk about ice makers for a minute. This little guy back here, you can see, is held on by just 2 screws. There's a wiring harness that comes in the back with a connector that plugs in. And then up in the upper right, you can see where the water just flows in. So it's really simple to take in and out. But this device is pretty complicated. Now, there's no computers or anything in there, but it's got a temperature sensor so that it knows when it's cold enough to make ice. It's got a heating element that heats up when the ice is made so that it can kick the cubes out. It's got a gear motor and all kinds of micro switches that control all of those things. So when it goes bad, it's bad. You don't really want to try and troubleshoot this device and fix it. This is a 2005 motorhome?
2005.
2005. So we're talking about a 16-year-old ice maker. In a home environment, your ice maker might last that long, but it's always in a constant environment and working. We're in a motorhome. They sit, they get to dry out and corrode, and then we want to use them again. So when it breaks, it's time to replace it. So we're going to pull this thing out, see if we can identify it and order a replacement. All right, so as we pull this thing out, we've got the 2 screws that hang the ice maker on. But what you may not be able to see is underneath there's 2 screws that have got to come out. Now what those are is that's an aluminum plate, and that would be part of your evaporator. So with that aluminum plate there, it'll suck the heat out of the ice mold and transmit that down to get that ice cooled off. So we'll have to remove the screws underneath as well as those 2 on the back to pull this unit out. righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. All right, so we're ready now to pull this thing out. So you should have a wire harness somewhere back there. So we've gotten this ice maker out, and a lot like the U-line that I replaced in one of my early videos, you can see that the Teflon coating is corroded. Actually, mine was flaking loose. This hasn't quite started flaking loose yet. Well, it has in a couple of places, but this is kind of nasty. So here on this end, we've got a wheel that tells us what's going on, and back here is there's a lot of switches and all that. You can see the water just flows straight in from the back. Let's see if we've got a model number or anything on here.
Right here.
We'll figure out what the part number is, and I will post a link to this in the description area of my video information. We can see that this is from 2004, so this is the original unit. It's done its job. It's served a long life. And so we've gotten a replacement ice maker head here, and let's talk about how we got that for just a second. Right here on the end of this is a label, and this is the old unit. And this number here, 106626649, is the Norcold part number. So we were able to go online, Google that, and found that on Amazon, as a matter of fact. And this is what we got. So if we compare them, there's a couple of very slight differences. The cover fits, and if we notice the original one here, this was cut out on the end of the ice filling trough. And the new one has not been cut out because it can be used a couple of different ways. There's actually pre-cuts here on the end as well as over here where we need it. And it did not come with the bail, so we'll have to transfer the bail over to here before we use it.
This got two.
And there's a little cutout here, which just looks like it made manufacturing easier. So I don't see that as an issue. All right, next to transfer the bail. All right, so that just pulls straight out.
That was easy.
And the other one should come out too, similar. All right, now alignment is critical on these, so just make sure that feels like it's going in right, because that works as a switch for this guy. Okay, so it feels like it's, okay, that looks like it's right.
You can feel it locking in place.
So as everybody knows, an ice maker, that's the off position, and then it's also as the ice fills up, that's how it turns itself off, by floating up here. All right, now we're just ready to install this, and we'll be able to get the freezer going and get it cooled down so that we can verify that this works in a couple of days. Here's the freezer with the unit out. We've got this plug. We've got the water inlet. We've got 2 mounting holes there, and a couple of mounting holes. Can't really see them in the bottom of this bracket here. So this is the evaporator in the freezer. This is what's conducting the cold in from the refrigeration unit on the back. And of course, here we go. And of course, it's important to put your cover on before you put in the unit. So now we'll get the screws in on the bottom. All right, now all the screws are started, so we'll tighten them down.
Side piece on and back parts in the slot. See that?
Flip that bail up so it's off. All right, now all you need to do is let the freezer get cold, and then you can try it out. All right, so we'll turn the refrigerator on and come back, and when it's cold, we'll fire on the ice maker, and so we'll be back here in a couple days and hopefully show the success of changing this. So if this isn't a subscribe-worthy video, I don't know what is. Hope you subscribe, and we've got more refrigerator videos in the works, and they'll help you get the most out of your refrigerator. But if your ice maker isn't working, by all means, fix it. We're back at Phil's motorhome, and he's got his refrigerator cooled down and has been running this for a couple hours. Let's see if we're getting ice.
Big test. It's cold.
All right,
That's something.
that's a start. Looks like we got this fixed. So Phil, how difficult would you say that this project was?
I'm thinking the most difficult part was the plug. Other than that was ordering.
Good. All right. So on a difficulty scale, 1 to 10?
Maybe a 2, 3.
So there's no reason anybody should have to suffer through not having their ice maker working.
Especially you, Steve.
All right. All right. Thanks everyone for watching, and please subscribe. It's been a while since Phil replaced his ice maker, and he's on a trip now. And as you can see, he enjoys more ice than he can possibly use. He's told me he has to turn his ice maker off because he just got too much ice. So this simple repair pays off. Aren't you glad? You know, it makes you look back on all the time that you had without a functional ice maker and say, why did I wait so long, right?
Don't have to buy ice anymore.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe.
Why is it keep pumping? Where's the water going? Into the ice maker?
That valve should, could be, yeah. Might be flooding your refrigerator.